Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotra Sadashri Srimad Abhay Caranaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 14, Chapter title, King Pururava enchanted by Urvashi, Text 39. Samvatsarante Hi Bhavan Ekaratram Maya Ishvaraha Ramsyati Apatyani Cha Te Bhavishyanti Aparani Bo Samvatsarante Hi Bhavan Samvatsara ante hi bhavan. Samvatsara ante hi bhavan. Ekaratram mayeshvaraha. Ekaratram mayeshvaraha. Ramsyati apatyani chate. Ramsyati apatyani chate. Bhavishyantyaparaani bo. Bhavishyantyaparaani bo. Samvatsarante hi bhavan. Ekaratram mayeshvaraha. Ramsyatyapathyani chate. Bhavishyantyaparaani bo. Matajis. Samvatsarante, at the end of every year, he, indeed, Bhavan, your good self, Ekaratram, one night only, Maya, with me, Ishvaraha, my husband, Ramsyati, will enjoy sex life, Apatyani, children, Cha, also, Te, your, Bhavishyanti, will generate, Aparani, others, one after another. Bo, O my dear King. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Translation. O my dear King, you will be able to enjoy with me as my husband at the end of every year for one night only. In this way, you will have other children, one after another. Purport. Although Urvashi had adversely explained the nature of women, Maharaja Pururuva was very much attached to her, and therefore she wanted to give the king some concession by agreeing to be his wife for one night at the end of each year. Namo Om Vishnupataya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas Swaminiti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupataya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyad Deshtarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Samvatsarante hi bhavan ekaratram mayeshwaraha ramsyat yapatyani che bhavishyanti aparanibo. Translation. O my dear king, you will be able to enjoy with me as my husband at the end of every year for one night only. In this way, you will have other children, one after another. Hare Krishna. So here, we are continuing with this chapter 14 of the Canto 9. And for the last many days, we have been discussing about the instructions, the so-called instructions, by Urvashi to Pururuva. See, the entire chapter actually elucidates one important point here, that the lower modes, we as a conditioned living beings, have some lower modes, and the lower modes are actually the root cause of many of the problems which we face in this material life. So that encompasses the entire subject matter of this chapter. Here we always see that how this King Pururuva was so much conditioned by lust. Even though many people gave him good advice, even the women who himself he wanted to have some enjoyment with, she is also giving him advice, but still the lower modes in him is overcoming his intelligence. So this is what this chapter actually starts with the entire story of how Soma actually takes the wife of Brihaspati, Tara. So when he kidnaps the wife, what happens is that there's a great fight which ensues. Obviously, because there is some familial fight or duel. So what happens is there's a big fight which happens. The important point in that entire fight was that Soma, being a demigod, took the help of the Asuras to fight against the demigods. See, you are actually a part of a company and you are actually a part of a group. And in order to satisfy your lust, what you do is you go and approach your enemy to become your friends. So this is what it happens when we actually get ourselves dragged into this lust. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also. Avritam jnanayetena jnanino nitya vairina. Say for a person, the Nitya Vairina, eternal enemy is lust. That it's always the lust which actually what happens is, it's an eternal enemy. And what it does, it actually covers the entire jnana. Avritam jnana etena. That it covers the entire jnana. Even little bit of intelligence what we have, that intelligence is also completely covered. And what he says in the third line is that kama rupena kaunteya. And this kama, which has this rupa, which has been having its rupa inside your body, is dushpurena adalenacha. That what it is having, it's like a raging fire. It's completely burning yourself. Here the example also tells the same thing, that Soma could not even control his lust. And what he did, even little bit of intelligence what he had has completely been covered because of lust. And what it happened, that a huge fight has to happen. And he has to go and approach his enemies to be a part of their own group. So this is what actually the Manusmriti also says this. Manusmriti quotes that any amount of sense enjoyment cannot put this end to this lustful our endeavors. Today the modern parlance is completely ulta. What it says is that if you engage completely in all the sexual indulgence or the lustful thinking or lustful activities, over a period of time, it will all die down. But, it doesn't happen. How can the example given in Manusmriti is that how can you switch off or how can you put off the fire by pouring more and more fuel, by pouring more and more oil? It's not possible. The fire is going to rage even higher. Dushpurena alnenacha. A raging fire is going to ensure. Nothing is going to get stopped. See, this is the complete stupidity of the modern civilization. And in fact, in the 1970s, there was a huge so-called spiritual organization which became so popular across the whole world only by this simple concept. The simple concept is that engage yourselves more and more in lustful activities, and over a period of time, you will become self-realized. How you will become self-realized, only God knows. But actually, the gentleman who started that entire movement, he tried his luck in India first, if you all know whom I am talking. And what he did is he tried his luck in India. He was from India, in fact from Pune. And he tried his luck in India, and there were not very many followers for him. And what he did, the problem is, in this country at least, there is some culture left even today. There is some culture left. What he wanted to show to the people is the uncultured, the lust which is inside them. So he wanted to bring that out. So he approached many people, he wanted to make many followers here, but he could not do. Then he had a golden idea that why don't I move to the area where the people are actually wanted to explicitly show these kind of lustful activities. So he went to the West, he started a great movement, and the great movement is even now flourishing, even after his death. Even today, in fact, there are very many books which are written on him, on this concept, and very many people, even in India today or even in nearby countries, it's become a very big rage. So the point here is that if we are not able to understand this simple concept that the lust is actually burning ourselves inside, we are not able to come out of it that easily. We are going to aggravate it more and more. So that's what comes out very clearly in this entire thing. Now, that's what even the Shastra says, that the life here in this material world is called Maitunya Agara. We are all criminals. What we have been done is we have been shackled with chains here. And what are the shackles? The shackles is our sexual indulgence. That what we do is that we wanted to have this kind of experiences with kind of happiness. And what it does, we are not able to come out of it. In a prison house, a criminal who is being shackled will not be able to remove the shackles. What happens over a period of time is that the prison in charge or a superintendent of the prison, what he does is that he will observe him. He will think that, yes, this man has been completely transformed in his prison life. Now he is a very, very able person that he can lead a normal civil life. So then his shackles are removed. The same way, till the time we want to aggravate our lustful thinking, our lustful activities here, the shackles will not be removed. The shackles will be more and more tight, and the shackles are not going to come out of its own. So, on process, here also we find the same thing, that, what this entire activity happened between Urvashi and Pururva, he is not able to come out of it. He wants to aggravate it. He is going and pleading her again and again. He's not able to put an end to it. So this is what actually happens here. So the Srila Prabhupada writes in one of the purport that the explicit nature of this lust is actually the mode of ignorance. That a person who is in the mode of ignorance is actually explicitly showing that he is having some lustful thing inside. And what it happens, it gets exacerbated with very many type of lustful activities. Be it, kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, everything comes out only because he is in the mode of ignorance. This mode of ignorance aggravates these lustful activities. So how do you come out of this mode of ignorance? That's what Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining through these chapters, that how this has been bad. These examples are shown not for any what this modern day novels which comes out. Modern day, there are very many novels which are written every day, in fact, about the varieties of sexual life, varieties of how the sexual activities can be done in a very great way. Srimad Bhagavatam is not explicitly quoting all this. What it is telling us every now and then, again and again, is that these are the hardships which you will face, these are the downsides of what you are doing, and this is the way how which you can come out of it. So that is the solution which the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam tells us. So coming back to the story, what happened is that the fight actually happened, and Lord Brahma, being the the father of this entire universe, you can call him, he actually, what he does, he approaches Soma and tells him about these bad activities, what he has done. He completely chastises him and tells that this is not proper, that, you have to show some dharmic values. And so he rescues the wife of Tara and brings him back brings him back. Now what happens here is that in between, this is actually what it happens is the Tara was actually pregnant by the time. And everybody, when she became pregnant, and everybody was asking who is the father of the child. That's the other problem which happens. This is like a classic blockbuster movie today. That, immediately the problem happens today, that what happens? Today, the problem of this kind of pregnancy and who is the father doesn't arise. Because immediately abortion is allowed. So once you abort, then things are normal. You can go and do the same things again. Nobody is going to ask you any questions. But this was not the case previously. That, the problem was that who is the father of this child? What happened? Why did it happen? All those things you are answerable. But today, nobody is answerable. Everything is very, very wishy-washy. So people go and have all these kind of sexual endeavors and they do abortion. Abortion is one of the grossest sin, Srila Prabhupada writes. If any of the sin that can be performed here, the most grossest sin is the abortion. But modern day, the abortion is so prevalent that every day millions of kids are killed in the womb of the mother. Millions and millions. And as we are speaking today, the so-called the greatest civilization, which are our predecessors, which are our forefathers or forefront of our civilization, is American civilization. And the Supreme Court in United States of America today is discussing whether abortion is a legal right of the women. Already it has been encapsulated that it's a legal right of the women. Today somebody is going and appealing against it. And now there's a big discussion happening that whether this abortion should be allowed as a constitutional right of the woman. So what is the constitutional right? The constitutional right of the woman cannot be allowed that she can go and kill a child in the womb. How can it be constitutionally valid? Killing is not allowed, but killing in the womb is allowed. Normally, when you go and kill somebody, you are hanged. When you are put in, say, life sentence. But you are allowed to kill as many as possible in your womb of your own womb. This is completely nonsense. This is how the material civilization has lost its intelligence. Avritam jnana yetena. Again, Bhagavad Gita says the same thing. That because you have lost your intelligence, you do all these kind of activities which are completely contradictory. How it can be possible that somebody can do this? Because his intelligence is completely covered. That's how it can happen. So the entire thing, actually, then here the important thing which happens is, the child which was born, the child is asking the mother that what kind of activity have you done? What is this that, what you have done here? And are you not ashamed by the activities what you have done? Who is the father? Who is my father? The child is asking. Are you not ashamed? So the problem is, the mother then faces very much dissatisfied. The mother is dukkha dukkam, kandu yenena karayor iva dukkha dukkam. Srimad Bhagavatam says that when you are actually having an itching sensation, you use your hand to aggravate the itch. And what happens at the end of, after itching the entire thing? Dukkha dukkam. It becomes even more miserable, even more misery comes. And here exactly the same thing happens. Yad maitunadi grihamedi sukami ducham. That the entire sukha, so-called sukha of this maitunadi is completely tucham. It's so abominable. It's so abominable. That, even though many people understand that it's so abominable, but still the lust is covering their intelligence. Once the lust is covering their intelligence, the tucham, the activities which are abominable, looks very, very pleasing. Very, very pleasing. And what happens after that also? Tripyanti na kripana. The kripana, the miser, is not tripyanti, is not satisfied. Even though he understands it is tucham, even though he understands it is dukkam, even though it's very, very dukkam, dukkha bhajam, it is so miserable, but still he is not able to come out of it, he is not satisfied, na tripyanti. And bahudukka bhajam, even great misery comes after that. What comes after that is even more great misery. But what happens is, one who is actually a dhira, manusujam visheta dhiraha, one who is a dhira can completely understand this. Yes, this is not going to give me any pleasing thing. It is completely miserable. Why don't I come out of it? That is intelligence. The intelligence is that we understand that, this activity is not going to help me in any way, or not going to help me in any way that is going to aggravate my misery only. So this is the intelligence which one should get. But here what happens is that, this what even Srila Prabhupada always used to quote, that, in the modern things, that this kind of intelligence is completely lost because of the so-called civilizational activities. And what happens is, people become hippies. Because they are not happy, they become hippies. Srila Prabhupada used to quote this example of all these American and European boys who joined him, and he used to tell them that these boys had all the things what they want in life. They had all the facilities. They are from a very rich families. But what they wanted is some lust. They want to exhibit some lust. And what happened is they thought that this is the only way to live like an animals on the street, have multiple sex, unlimited sex. And what they become, they thought they will become happy in these activities. But they didn't become. They become much more miserable. So the point here is that the intelligence is more important, that which we have. We should not get ourselves covered with this intelligence because of this so-called lustful thinking and lustful activities. That is more important. Now, in the story again, what happened is that after that, the son was born, son was called Buddha because he was so intelligent by Brahma. And then one of he gets his son, and his son is called Pururava. So that's how we have reached the same point here, that how this Pururava story comes in. Now, knowing this Pururava's greatest valor and how he is so great, Urvashi gets completely encapsulated by him. Because she was actually, she has actually been cursed by Mitra and Varuna, that she will get herself encapsulated by some human being. So she comes and she proposes to this man, and this man gets immediately captivated. And they engage in all the lustful activities. The thing here is, that is the irony of life. The woman who came, the person who came and really made him actually getting encapsulated by him, after the activities, she is advising him that what not to be done. That she is coming and telling all these things, that you are such a rascal, you don't know what to do, why don't you control your senses? She only came, this man was actually normal, maybe, but what happened is she came from, and she actually completely encapsulated him. And what happened is, now after all the things, she is advising him that what is not to be done. So this is, and the line which he quotes in some of the previous verses is that the senses are like your fox, that, don't get captivated by them. Who is speaking? The fox is speaking. The fox is speaking about, don't get captivated by this fox like me. So this is how, that's the thing which again tells us the same point from Bhagavad Gita, that intelligence is lost. Intelligence is covered by lust. Intelligence is lost, intelligence is covered by lust. Then these kind of activities are bound to happen, and the man looks like a completely illogical person. Otherwise, how would you allow that the lady comes and tells that these two lambs are with me and these two lambs are like my children? And if the lambs are lost, then I would completely leave you and go. I mean, if a normal, sane person, if some kind of proposal is being done to him like this, he would have thought, why should I take care of these lambs? Why should I do all these things? He would have thought multiple times. But because he is insane, he has lost his intelligence, because he cannot think, oh my God, what am I doing here? Anything, whatever proposal is being proposed, yes, I am willing to do it. So this is the tucham, this is the abominable thing which can happen, that, the person who is actually forcing you to do the bad things, at the end of the day, he comes and tells you that what bad things you have to avoid yourself. This is the irony of this material life. And what she goes on to tell, that never have friendship with women. And what she tells is, women are like this class, all those slokas which we have in the previous sessions, don't have any relationship with women, any friendship with women. Women are like this, women are cunning. All the things have been done, and after this, all the gyan is given. What is the use? Now everything is picture perfect, has been done. He is suffering, and now what she did, after that she left him. And this man is completely lost, that how am I going to live without her? How am I, because my lust is not getting captivated, my lust is not getting satiated. So what happens is, he goes and begs her that, why don't you come and live with me more? And what she is telling today in the same verse, that okay, I will agree to be with you as you can be my husband for one night in a year. And even this proposal also looks so illogical. Still he accepts, okay, chalo, no problem, come, please. So this is the thing, that how a man gets captivated, and after the captivation completely gets lost his intelligence. So that is the difference between a man who is captivated by lust and a devotee who is captivated to do service to the Lord. This is the difference between a devotee who is always thinking that how can I do service to the Lord, and a normal human being always thinks that how can I do service to my senses? How can I satiate my senses? How can I engage in more and more lustful activities? So that is the difference between that, devotee and a materialistic man. Kama dinam katina katita palita durhidesha. How many times we have engaged in this abominable activities? How many times? Kama dinam katita, how many times? And what has happened? Durnidesham. Durnidesha means whom we have taken the orders from. Durnidesha. A wrong master, we have gone and approached a wrong master. Who is the wrong master? Our senses is the wrong master. Here, who is the wrong master? For Tara, Soma was the wrong master. And who for Pururva, Urvashi was the wrong master. What happened is, they are taking orders from them. What should I do? Chalo, you have to get yourself engaged in a sexual activity. Durni Desham. How abominable is this, that we don't know who our master is. We don't know whom to take orders from. We have approached the wrong master. And what happens is, after that, Tesham Jatamai, after doing all these things, and still what happens is, na karuna, na trapa, na utsirstaja. That what happens is, there is no mercy. Even the person is not being given any mercy. And what happens is, na trapa, no shame. Here the child is asking the father, a mother, that don't you have any shame? That what kind of activity have you done? Same, na trapa, there is no shame. That, oh, I have been doing this for very many years, very many lifetimes. Srila Prabhupada used to tell that we have been engaged in these sexual activities for many lifetimes after lifetimes. And even in this lifetime, for very many years, we have been engaging in the same activity. But still, we don't have any kind of shame on that. That why don't I have some shame? We don't have. And what happens is that no pashanti, it doesn't cease to exist also. It is coming again and again and again. It is not ceasing. It is not stopping. No pashanti, it is not stopping. And what is the way by which we can come out of it? That is the solution Srimad Bhagavatam gives. That utsisya mado yadupater, that if you are able to surrender to the Yadupati, Krishna, Yadupate, if you are able to give utsisya, you give up everything and just surrender to the Yadupate, just surrender to him. Once you get surrendered to Yadupate, what we have to do, the last line gives a very good answer, that Niyungshvada Atma Dasye, that I am a Dasya of you, Yadupati. If you surrender completely to him, that I am willing to do any service to you, then we will be able to come out of this Kama Dinam Katina. That all these kind of things can come out of it only if you are able to surrender to him and willing to do full-fledged service to him. If you are not able to do that, serve him personally, then we will not be able to come out of this. Either we have to take orders from somebody. Either we take orders from Krishna or we take orders from Maya. Either we take orders from Krishna or take orders from Urvashi. Either we serve Krishna or serve Soma or Tara. So the point here is that all these stories are coming and telling us one simple point here again and again in all the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we should be willing to surrender and serve and take orders from only one person, that is Krishna. If we are able to do that, then automatically all these activities can completely cease to exist. And this is what is happening to everyone. That in a normal parlance also, when we are working outside in a job, when we go and apply for resignation, we go and tell them that, okay, I want to resign from service. Immediately the man asks him, do you have another job? Why are you resigning? And so what he wants to tell us is that, do you have a job? Do you have some salary? How will you manage your family? How will you manage everything? How are you going to live? Who is actually giving everything? Who is giving you all the things? Krishna is providing. It's not the job is providing. But in the normal parlance, what we have to do, we have to resign from somebody to go and do work for somebody else. Same way, we have to have our mind completely ready to resign from Maya, doing service to Maya, and start working for Krishna. So it's so simple. This is what Srila Prabhupada quotes in a very important line, that this is the perfection of service. If somebody wants to do service, the perfection of service is that he has to serve Krishna. If he thinks that he can survive or he can be happy or he can do anything in this material world by serving Maya, then he is an illusion. That is not perfection. What he further writes is, we have to give up the service of Maya and take an appointment with Krishna. Very nice point here. That we go and take appointment with Krishna. When will Krishna give you appointment? Krishna will give you appointment when you are willing to surrender to him and do personal service to him. Otherwise, why should he give appointment to you? You are already serving somebody else. You are already doing personal service to somebody else. And you will come and ask appointment with Krishna. Krishna is not bound to give you appointment. Krishna will never give you appointment. What he will do is that he will completely ignore you, and you will be happy doing the same service to the same Maya, which you have been doing for very many lifetimes. So Srila Prabhupada again writes that the service is there. The service is always there. Either you service Krishna or you service Maya. The service is always there. But if you are willing to serve and exploit this material nature, that is called materialism. That is going to bound you more and more in this material life. On the other hand, if you give up all these propensities and just submit to Krishna and take an appointment in Krishna, then your life is successful. Then that is called perfection of life. That is perfection of service. So it's very simple. What we have to do is that we have to resign from our current service. The current service, what we are doing is that we are engaged in serving Maya. And what we have to do, we have to apply for resignation. Once you apply for resignation, automatically we have no other way that we have to come to Krishna only. So then he will save us. Otherwise, what will happen is, we will be completely engaged only in this kind of activities. which are not going to give us any happiness or any perfection in this lifetime. That is the difference between kama and prema. Atmendriya priti incha tare bole kam. Krishnendriya priti icha tare prema nama. That the difference between is that if we want to serve what is the desire of Krishna, to please Krishna, that is prema. If we want to serve what is my desire, or what I will be happy, or what my senses will be happy, that is kama. In the same Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, again a beautiful example is also given, that what is the difference between kama and prema? Kama and prema, donhare, they are actually, what it says, vibhinna lakshanaha. Donhare vibhinna lakshanaha. What it happens is, it's actually separated lakshana. It's the same lakshana but separated. And the example given is that lauha, hema, like a iron and a gold, both are metals. Iron is also a metal, gold is also a metal. But they both have different properties. They have different lakshana. They have different swarupa. Same way, kama and prema looks very, very same externally, but they are completely different. One is completely satiating our own desires, and another is completely surrendering to Krishna and doing what pleases him. Both are completely different. So, which is the real message from this chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, what happened next in this story is also, we'll all know from the next few verses. Then one point which I wanted to tell here is that Urvasi then tells Pururava that why don't you go and worship the Gandharvas? So what he goes and does a very, very elaborate worship of the Gandharvas by doing a sacrificial fire. He does a great yajna to satisfy the Gandharvas. Now the point here is, that is again the difference between Satya Yuga and Kali Yuga. In Satya Yuga, for satiating the lust, the solution is to do some yajna. In Kali Yuga, what happens is, to satiate that lust, what happens is, we engage in lust more and more. And what we think is that by engaging in lust more and more, we will be able to come out of the lust. We are so abominable. But it's not happening. Here what he does a very elaborate yajna, a sacrificial ceremony, to satisfy the Gandharvas. Why? Because he wanted to get this lust come out of the lust. So this is the difference between a Kali Yuga, where we always hear how there is so many, men completely, overpower women and does all those kind of nonsenses, which even animals don't do. Even in animal kingdom, you will not hear anything called rape. But what happens, only in human civilization it happens, because of the more intelligence that has been endowed upon him. Poor human being, he has been given more intelligence to understand the difference between prema and kama. But what he is doing is, how to do the kama better, he is doing in very many activities. So the difference here is that we should understand that we have been very fortunate that we have got all these stories from Srimad Bhagavatam explained to us very lucidly by Srila Prabhupada in a very simple way by translating all these verses. And today we are very, very fortunate that we are hearing these stories, we are understanding these stories, and what we have to do is that we have to implement them in our life so that we come out of this lustful thinking. That is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. What Srimad Bhagavatam also tells is, Shrunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha. And because by hearing about Krishna again and again, Punya Shravana Kirtanaha, by doing this Kirtanaha, by hearing again and again, what happens is, Hridayantastu Abhadrani. Immediately what happens? All this Abhadram, all this Anarthas come out of the Hridaya. Hridayantastu Abhadrani. So that is what we are trying to do every day here. What we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, why we are coming for Mangalarati, what we are chanting, why we are coming and associating with devotees, why we live in ashram, why we live in a devotee community. These are all happening because just for only one thing, Hridayantastu Abhadrani. That what is all this dust which has been stored in our Hridaya has to be removed. And how it can happen? The next verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says, what? Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. So what happens is, every day do Bhagavata sevaya. Either hear Srimad Bhagavatam, serve the Bhagavata, serve the devotees, serve devotion, engage in devotional service. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. All this abhadram, all this unfortunate activities will all come to an end if we engage every day nityam Bhagavata sevaya. And why this abhadram is coming? Again, the next verse of Srimad Bhagavatam explains that. Tado rajas tamo bhavaha. That, all these things are coming because of the raja and tama, which is a bhava, which is actually there in our heart. And kama lobha, that all these things, how they are explicitly being exhibited by kama and lobha. Because we have got inside our heart, this propensity for raja and tama, they are getting exhibited as kama and lobha. And what it happens is that chetayede ranaviddam Sattvam prasidati, one who is actually situated in sattva, shuddha sattva, he is always prasidati, he is always happy. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam is telling, how to be happy in this life. How to be happy in this life is not by engaging in this abhadram, not to engaging in kama. How we can become happy in this life is that how we come out of this kama and lobha, which has come because we have been having this lower propensity of being in rajogun and tamogun. So the only way by which we can come out of this rajogun and tamogun propensities in us is that we engage in nityam bhagavata sevaya. That is the only way. That is why Srila Prabhupada has completely given a very good structure, a daily schedule. That, we come every day morning, we chant, we dance in front of the Lord, we sing His praises, we do our Guru Puja again, we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we engage in devotional service after that, we eat only Krishna Prasadam, we hear about Bhagavad Gita, we come and dance in front of the Lord, we go and preach the same thing to others. Why we are doing all abhadram? We don't want to get back to this really lower modes of our life. So our humble request is that we take this wonderful opportunity which the entire organization as a movement has been created by Srila Prabhupada is giving us. We are starting this Gurukula also now. Why this entire opportunity for Gurukula is also started? Because the same thing, that why this wonderful opportunity should not be restricted for the boys, it should be given to them. Let them also become devotees from a very young age. Why should they go and get associated with the entire outside world and come and that what the pages Chaitanya Charitamrita we understand. Why should the young boys be allowed to go outside and put mud on their head, and why then we bring them inside to clean the mud? We don't need to do that. Why don't they completely become devotees from day one? So this wonderful opportunity is being given. So let us take this opportunity. And what happens at the end of the day, we all become prasidati. We become blissful, we become happy. That is perfection of life. Hare Krishna. Any questions, any suggestions, any comments? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.